All right, good afternoon, everyone. I've got 1:45 by my clock, so we're going to go and get started so I can get you out of here on time. Okay. All right, so we always like to start off with a little pep talk here. So this video that I'm about to share with you was actually shared with me by Miss Hefner. Miss Hefner, for most of y'all know, is from Pennsylvania, and I believe this video was recorded by a student in the school district up in Pennsylvania where Miss Hefner is from. So I'm going to play this for you. It's very cute, and it hopefully gives you a little pep in your step for this Wednesday.
Hello, I'm Dr. Khalid Mumin, and welcome to the 2020-2021 school year. As we all know, we are living in unprecedented times, and I believe it's appropriate for me to begin with one of my favorite poems, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could.
I got this stuff. Have you heard of Kid President? Well, I'm Kid Superintendent, and I think we all need a pep talk. Testing. The past couple of months haven't been easy, huh? A global pandemic, politics, social unrest, earthquakes, tornadoes, Tiger King. The show is not what I thought it was about. Your glasses fogging up when you wear a mask. Fighting over toilet paper. The unmute button. You're on mute. Spider and winter flies, desert locusts, and murderous hornets. I mean, where did it even come from, man? You get the idea. 2020 has been kicking our butts. Like I say butts, right? It's okay to feel overwhelmed right now, or anxious, or nervous about remote learning. Your Bitmojis look awesome, by the way. Maybe you're worried about students. I'm worried about myself and everybody else. But remember, we're all doing the best we can, and that's all that matters. Kids aren't looking for perfection. We're just looking for you to be present. I know that because I'm a kid. So let's be good humans. Unless if you're into toy crawfish. And sprinkle kindness. By the way, I hate sprinkle. And let's give each other grace, not grief. We're all in this together. And we've got to support each other. Air hugs! But you know this already because that's what people do. You're resilient and resourceful. When times get tough, you know how to pull together. No cap. And there's still plenty of good stuff in the world, right? Like cinnamon toast crunch. I see you. And Jay from Chip, he's awesome. And Lizzo, my mom likes her music a lot. A lot. And funny TikTok videos. And Sharpie, you gotta love those. And we've got you. You are good. Don't scrap that. You are great. We need you here. No matter your job, you each have something special and amazing to offer. You can do virtually anything. Get it? Virtually? It's a joke. Seriously, you can do this. You are the champion Rita Pearson was talking about. I believe in you. And I know you'll stay RSD proud no matter the distance. It's kind of like Doc was trying to say. Two roads diverged in a wood. And right now, we gotta take the one less travel. You know, uncharted territory and all. I know it might get a little scary. Actually, a lot scary. But you got this. Put on your favorite fuzzy socks. No one can see your feet on Google Meets. But definitely still wear your pants. And press forward with a positive attitude. It's gonna make all the difference.
All right, a lot of things to take from that that video. Of course, one of the biggest things is to make sure you're always wearing your pants. That's something that I want to make sure that is clear with everyone. But yes, you are very important. No matter your role in this school, you have been an important piece to everything. So thank y'all very much for that. So we are now going to transition to passing of the treasure chest. So last staff meeting, the treasure chest was passed to me. So just to kind of give you a brief synopsis of what the treasure chest is for those that are new. So every staff meeting, we present a treasure chest, and in that treasure chest is full of goodies, and it's just passed from one individual to the next just to say thank you for all that you are doing here at the school at Pactolus. Okay, so it's my time to now pass off the treasure chest to someone else. So without further ado, I'm actually going to pass the treasure chest off to two individuals, two ladies. These two ladies have done a fantastic job, and they have been helping me out tremendously in an area that maybe some of y'all may or may not be aware of. But those two individuals are Miss Polly and Miss Galvadoris. They have been working very hard behind the scenes. For those of you who do not know, all of our EC students have to have contingency plans, meaning we have to have IEPs on all these students. They have been working tirelessly to do one-on-one meetings with their students, as well as all of y'all are doing that. But they're also helping out in other ways too. So I just want to applaud them and thank them very much for helping me out to do some other things as well. So I do have the treasure chest. If one of y'all, I know Ms. Galvadoris is not here today, but one of y'all could come up. I've also socially distanced your bags in here so that you each have your two bags of goodies in there. So I will have that for you. Either I'll get it to y'all, or if one of y'all could come up here and get it, I would greatly appreciate that. But thank y'all so much for what y'all are doing all the times. All right. So before we get into the actual meat of our staff meeting, there's one thing that I did want to kind of go over with y'all today. We'll take my video off now. So progress reports. So I know that's been a discussion with K2 today. And I know a lot of y'all are having discussions with me just privately and via email and all that good stuff. So I just wanted to hit on progress reports real quick, just so that we're all on the same page when it comes to this. First of all, we know that we are behind when it comes to teaching curriculum. It's a county-wide concern. So we understand that. We also understand that we may not have a ton of grades for this first progress report. We get that as well. But what I've been hearing from a lot of y'all when you're talking about your students, the two biggest things that come up is either somebody at home is doing the work for the students, or the work is just not being completed at all. So here's my overall idea when it comes to these progress reports. And this last bullet right here hits on it. Right now, we need honest feedback. Okay, these families need to know if their children are not doing what they're supposed to be doing at home. If that means putting in some lower grades and giving them the opportunity to fix that later on, then that's what we need to work towards, okay? But as you can see here, progress reports, they go home with students on September the 15th. A lot of questions have come up. What do we do with our virtual students? How do we get progress reports home to them? So we have two options and possibly a third as well. So you may email progress reports home to those virtual students, okay? If you do so, what I'm asking of you is just a blind copy yourself so that you have a copy of that. And I would go ahead and set a folder up in your Gmail labeled progress reports, report card, whatever you want to call it. But just something that you can kind of put that in later to say, hey, look, this is my evidence that I have sent this home to you and your family. And also send a read receipt along with it so that you know if that parent has opened up that email. So when you send these progress reports, and this will go for report cards, not unless we come up with something different as a county, but you'll just blind copy yourself and send a read receipt, okay? There is a possibility where we have families coming out for virtual meals. Those virtual students will come out on Wednesday sometimes and get their meals for the week. The problem is that we don't know who's going to show up. It's kind of hit or miss. We've had 2 weeks of it, of families coming out and getting their meals. We've had about 30 families, roughly 30 families come out. So once again, that's kind of hit or miss as well. If these two options do not work, reach out to the family member, see if they can come by and pick it up. But if those options don't work either, come see me and we can talk about what our next option would be, okay? Like I said, this honest feedback is needed right now. We know that there's a lot of factors that play into these progress reports and how they're going to be viewed. One thing that I will promise you, and I'm saying this to everyone, is I will support you 100%. As long as you have been communicating with the families, reaching out to them, if you've got documentation to say, hey, I've reached out to so-and-so and they're just not responding, they're not doing these things, that's why they've got this 0 here, or that's why they have a U, then I will 100% support you, and I will take that concern off your hands, and I will be dealing with the family. So keep that in mind, that the support is here. Just make sure that you got your documentation in line, so that when I have a conversation with a family member, I can say to them, hey, this is why your child has this. Okay. So any questions about progress reports? I know K2, we met with y'all. I know the ICs met with 2nd grade, and then I was in there for kindergarten, 1st grade. So I think we answered some good questions for y'all there. 3rd through 8th grade Encore, do y'all have any questions pertaining progress reports? Okay, and the scenario may come up, and if you do have a question, by all means, reach out to me, okay? All right. So on our agenda today, we're going to go over 2 different things. The first thing is Virtual Learning Mondays, and then the second thing is I want to be able to give y'all some good remote learning examples. We've been scouring Canvas and Seesaw, looking at teachers, their LMSs. So we've been able to come up with some good examples that we're going to share with y'all, just to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. And these may be some ideas that you can take back to your own LMS and use that in your situation, okay? So Virtual Learning Mondays. So as you all know, this past Friday, our board had a meeting. Some of y'all have probably viewed it. They had a meeting to discuss Virtual Learning Mondays going forward. And the goal of this Virtual Learning Monday was, or the creation of these Virtual Learning Mondays, was to help our teachers kind of catch their breath, and also provide some review and remediation for our students, okay? Now, if you watched the board meeting, you know that this was a very hot contested topic with a lot of feelings attached to this. So what I'm about to outline for y'all are some very strict guidelines that we're going to have here at Pactolus. Some of these are district-wide guidelines, and then some of these are what we're going to enact here in Pactolus. So you'll see that these are very detailed, very strict outlines, and let me explain to you why that is. Since this is such a hot topic with parents and certain board members, we're going to make sure that we do this right. One thing I do not want to happen to any one of us here is for family members to start calling the central office and saying, well, Pactolus teachers are not doing this, they're not doing that. So I've come up with some very explicit guidelines of what we're going to have to do for these 9, or actually it's going to be 8, because the first one will do something a little bit different. But there's going to be some very strict guidelines, and the purpose of that is to protect you as a teacher, as a staff member, but to also put our best foot forward with our students at home in order to give them the best opportunity for learning too. Okay, so keep that in mind when we're going through these guidelines. All right, the first thing I kind of want us to understand is that this is not a traditional workday. So what we had yesterday was a traditional workday where you came in, you were able to work on some things. You didn't have to, you probably communicated with families and stuff like that, but you mainly recorded and did all this other stuff. That was yesterday. So understand that going forward with these virtual learning days, that's going to be a little bit different. Our mindset's going to be a little bit different. So we're not going to have the traditional workday mindset that we had like yesterday, okay? So going forward, it's a virtual learning day, not a work day. All right, so this is the calendar to really highlight the difference. The only thing that's really changed are these black Mondays over here. All right, as you can see here, all these Black Mondays starting with next Monday are our virtual learning days. Okay, the only other thing that's really changed, I believe there was an October, maybe 15th was a work day that they've just then changed to Monday. So that's really the only thing that has changed as far as our school calendar is that we've had these virtual learning days, and then they changed one of these 2 days, the 14th or the 15th was a work day. They just moved, of course, to the 12th. All right. So I've reflected that on our Google Calendar that you have access to as well, so that you can see that. If you would, make sure that you kind of keep that in mind. All right, so here's the start of our guidelines. Okay, so if you're trying to multitask right now, I ask that you just kind of listen and make sure that you're in tune with what we're about to say, just so that we're all on the same page. Okay. So when it comes to our guidelines here at Pactolus, staff members will still report to work as normal. Okay, so virtual or working from home, those scenarios, unless you have COVID or COVID-like symptoms, then you still have to report to work as normal. All right, all certified staff must be in the screener line by 7:55, and our workday hours are from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Okay, staff must remain on campus since this is a typical learning day, like we would if we had kids in the building. Off-campus lunches and things like that will not be allowed. So you must stay on campus all day, just like you would a normal teaching day. All right, so keep this in mind. All staff must dress professionally. Okay, dress as if students are in the building, so there will be no jeans. So just what you're wearing today, that's what would be the expectation on these virtual Mondays coming forward. Don't get all bent out of shape, because I will give you plenty of jeans days. So having to wear normal dress clothes on Monday, don't worry, we'll still have Fridays with jeans day and stuff like that. So you'll still have one day. So don't get too bent out of shape about that. I'll still help you out, I promise. But we've got to be able to dress professionally, because you're going to be doing some recordings, and you're going to be, meeting with some kids live on Zoom. So that will be important that you're dressing appropriately. Okay. Remember to wear pants. Please be mindful of scheduling personal appointments on Mondays unless you plan to take leave. Okay, this has been a strict guidelines by the county, is that staff, if you make a 1:30 appointment or a 2 o'clock appointment, then if you were to take leave in a normal day, then you would need to take leave on these virtual Mondays as well. Okay, so staff will not be allowed to leave prior to 3 p.m. Keep that in mind when you have appointments. If it's 3:15 and it's in Greenville, and you come to ask me, hey, can I leave 2:50? I'm going to have to say no. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Even though students are not in the building, we are still working professionals. Facebook uploads, personal phone calls, online shopping, etc. should not take place when instruction should. Okay, so the same kind of expectations that we've had before are going to count on these virtual Mondays, even though students are not technically in the building. So we're still going to keep up with our 3 W's: wear, wait, and wash. And like I said already, normal expectations and etiquette are still expected. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about these guidelines here? And once again, I'm putting these things in place so nothing comes back on us as a staff, and so that we keep that high expectations going forward. Okay. All right. One thing that we will be providing here is childcare. So we will be providing childcare for staff members that have school-age children. So kindergarten through 8th grade, if you have, kindergarten through 12th grade. So if you have a child that is in school, then we will be providing childcare for them. Now, here's the real kicker here. They will not be located in the room with you, okay? Because your day is going to be busy. I know if I had my child, and I'm just speaking for myself, but if I had my child in my room with me, then I would never get anything done. So what we will have is there will be a separate location in this building that will be monitored by teacher assistants. They can kind of help them, work through their Canvas or Seesaw or things like that, it's kind of assisting them. So I'll come up with a schedule. If this is something that you are interested in using, I've already had one person tell me that they are, please email me by this Friday. Let me know if you're interested in how many children. Okay. So will a child be allowed to go to your room? Sometimes, yes, but it won't be all the time. The majority, they'll be, working with the teacher assistants, going through their courses and modules, just because you would need to be able to get your activities done in a timely manner as well. Okay. So if you're interested, please reach out to me by this Friday and let me know how many children, and then we'll have a separate location. Will they have mask breaks other than lunch? So they will still have the same. That's a good question, Ms. Garcia. That's still going to be a requirement, that they still have masks on throughout the day. The only time we're allowed to take mask breaks is if we're outside. I'm not going to really build into the schedule where they'll have time to go outside and stuff like that, because it's going to be where I'm talking about kindergarten up to 12th grade students being here at the time. But we can kind of look at some things and stuff like that. But yes, mask will still be required. We'll make sure that they're socially distanced and stuff like that. But of course, for lunch and stuff, they can have their mask off to eat. All right. So I put this on a slide by itself. So now we're going to get into some instructional requirements for virtual Mondays. Okay. So the big thing that I want you to understand is that new content is not to be taught on virtual learning Mondays. That is straight from the top. So we are not allowed to teach any new content. And that is kind of we're already behind the 8 ball when it comes to our instruction right now in curriculum and pacing. I understand that. But we're not supposed to be teaching any new content going on Mondays for virtual learning Mondays. I'll get to a little bit more of what we can do in just a moment. Okay. All right. So instructional requirements for virtual Mondays. So kindergarten through 2nd grade, if you will listen closely for just a moment, then I'll get to the rest of everyone else in just a moment. So here's what we are going to ask of you for kindergarten through 2nd grade. We are asking that you provide 3 different times of live instruction. Now, keeping in mind that this is review instruction. It's not new content, but this is review instruction, okay? So kindergarten through 2nd grade, you're going to start off by 30 to 35 minutes of live reading instruction, ELA Reading Horizons instruction. Now, you'll notice that this number right here is a little bit smaller than math, and that's because we took out guided reading. We're not at a point right now that we're ready for everybody to do guided reading. Some of you are on different levels, so we'll talk with you individually if you are. But I think right now as a K through 4, we're not at a certain point right now as far as guided reading is concerned. So you'll have your live instruction for 30 to 35 minutes. Keep in mind that it's review. Then you'll have 40 minutes of live math instruction, and then 30 to 35 minutes of live science and social studies and SEL instruction. Okay. So where did I get these numbers from? Well, these numbers have already been communicated to you. So if you remember, this was what the ICs went over with you at the beginning of the school year about your Seesaw course requirements. So originally we had said ELA would be 45 minutes, but what we did here was we took out guided reading, which is 15. So that's where we got 30. We said 30 to 35 just because of logging people on and stuff like that. So for your ELA lesson, you would have your I do, we do, you do, and then Reading Horizons, I do, we do, you do. Okay. So I've linked this document in here for you. The 40 minutes of live instruction. If you come down here, you've got your math right here. It's already outlined here. And then your science and social studies outlined here. So these numbers that we have presented to you, when you've been doing your virtual lessons, that was how you were supposed to be setting up your virtual lessons anyway. So just bringing this back to the forefront of our minds to say, hey, remember, there's this document out here that the IC's created and making sure that we follow this, this model, okay? So I know that sounds like a lot. I know what you're saying right now, and in 3rd through 8th grade teachers, you're probably thinking to yourself, what is he about to say for us? So yes, I understand that I am requiring you to get on to do live instruction 3 times a day. But keep in mind, if we're here from 8 to 3, that's 7 hours. And what you have a total right here is no more than 90, 100 minutes, okay? So no more than 2 hours am I asking of you to do live instruction. So this is how we fulfill the requirements of and the expectations of the community and the district. So we should be providing this live instruction with our students. So that is this piece right here. Okay, kindergarten through 2nd grade. Do you have any questions about what is the guidelines for y'all, the instructional requirements? And just to kind of give you an idea, you will, I'll get a little bit more to what you're going to do the rest of the day. And I'll let you talk, we'll talk about also your scheduling too. Ms. Pilgrim, you have a question? Would it be whole group or small group? Great question. So what I'm imagining and what I'm hearing all of y'all talk about anyway is that when you set up these times, when you've been setting up your Zoom times, they typically are small groups anyway. So what I would do is I would still have these set times of ELA, a set time of math, set time of science and social studies. Is everyone in your class going to be able to log on at the same time? No. So unfortunately, that's just kind of the case, but it would be whole group and small group, if that makes sense. Your whole group is essentially going to be your small group. I think most of y'all, when y'all have had kids log on, you get around 10 or so. That's a little bit bigger than, it's about double the size of a small group. But I'm not going to ask you to be on for 5 hours a day to try to get all those small groups. All right, so kindergarten through 2nd grade, that is y'all. Remember that this document is out here. What we really want to start seeing from our virtual teaching is the I do, we do, you do, okay? All right, 3rd through 4th grade, very similar to what kindergarten and through 2nd grade is doing right now. So 3rd through 4th grade, you're going to have 40 minutes of live ELA instruction, no guided reading right now, 40 minutes of live math instruction, and 40 minutes of live science, social studies, SEL instruction. So this document right here is the document that was shared with y'all at the beginning of the school year. I know we kind of need some refreshers and reminders of these things. So when you're doing your live instruction, you can see that this is the same thing that we communicated to y'all at the beginning of the school year. So just making sure that when you're doing your 40-minute lessons, you're hitting these targets here, okay? All right, so that would be 120 minutes for 3rd through 4th grade. So that's 2 hours. 2 hours out of 7. Okay. 3rd through 4th grade, do you have any questions? All right. 5th through 8th grade. Very similar to that of 3rd and 4th grade, you're going to have 3 40-minute blocks of live instruction. So if you're, say, that's Miss Laser, 5th grade math, you'll have 3 blocks, 3 live open Zooms that you'll have that allow kids to get on at different times. And you'll be providing that live remedial instruction. The important thing here is to communicate with your grade level to discuss times. I don't know if you, and this is where I'm going to give y'all the autonomy to decide as a grade level to figure out what's best for you and your students. I don't know if you, say, all of 5th grade teachers for your first block of instruction, you want to all be on at the same time and kids have time to, or decide which one they want to be a part of, or you can space it out that 8:30 starts with math, then there's 9, 10, language arts. It's up to you all to come up with what works best for you and your students. Okay? So yes, you may have one block that's going to have one kid up there, and you may have a third block that has a little bit more. But the reason we're asking you to do these 3 40-minute blocks is so that you don't have all your kids on at one time, because trying to teach to, let's say you get half of your students, even half of them up, which is about 30 for most of y'all, trying to teach a live Zoom lesson to 30 students at one time is crazy. Trying to do that in face-to-face is crazy. Trying to do it in Zoom is even crazier. So that's why we're asking you to do these 3 40-minute blocks, so that it kind of allows students to pick and choose, and also spreads out the time for y'all. You have some students that are morning bird, and then some that are late owls. So 5th through 8th grade, do you have any questions as far as the instructional requirements for you all? All right, and then Encore, since your blocks right now are 30 minutes, you're going to be providing 3 30-minute blocks of live instruction for your students. So you'll do just 1 per grade level, so a 6th, 7th, and an 8th grade for your middle school students. Encore, do you have any questions? All right, so our next thing here. So one thing that we have realized that we are missing out here tremendously as a school is PLC. PLCs are tremendous, are wonderful, a tremendous help to you as an educator. And we haven't been doing those just for the simple fact we wanted to give y'all time to breathe and troubleshoot and figure some things out. Now we need to kind of get our PLCs started, because we understand the importance of these PLCs, and we need to help facilitate this with y'all, okay? So our virtual learning Mondays, we're going to get all kindergarten through 5th grade into the PLC room to do your PLCs. Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, we've got middle school, so 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Of course, you see Wednesdays are left out just because we know that we have staff meetings, SIT meetings, all those good things. So we're going to really try to get everybody in on Monday. And then for middle school, we'll space you out Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So these will still be 1-hour PLCs, but we need to get these started because y'all have some great ideas that you need to talk with as a grade level, share. We need to also kind of walk through some CFAs with y'all, and how do we do this? Let's look at your online websites, not websites, learning management systems, making sure that we are tightening up our virtual learning. Y'all have done a fantastic, phenomenal job with virtual learning. I commend y'all. I applaud y'all all the time. I will say this, y'all don't get to hear this, but there are a lot of people in our county that are talking about what y'all are doing here at Pactolus. I know it's kind of hard to believe because we get lost in the weeds sometimes, and we're thinking to ourselves, what are we doing? This is not making sense. Some of the things we're doing right now, we're still spinning our wheels, but I will say we're a little bit farther than some schools in this county. And I will say I've had a good number of people reach out and let me know that. And also some principals ask me, how are we doing this? And asking me to share the things that y'all are doing. So that speaks volume. So we're going to increase our virtual learning expectations now. And we're going to help y'all get through this with our PLCs, okay? So you got your times here. So I've shared with you, I've given you, okay, here's your instructional requirements, kindergarten through 2nd grade, 3rd through 4th grade, 5th through 8th grade, Encore, and I've also told you when your PLC times are. So I've taken up about 3 hours of your day. Okay, 3 out of your 7 hours, just to put it in perspective. I know you probably need all those 3 hours as well, but a lot of these things that we'll be doing in PLCs will also be helping you when you're planning instruction as well, okay? So what should I do with the rest of my day? The rest of the day you can use to record and lesson plan, parent communication, collaborate with your colleagues, provide individual feedback. If you want to schedule another Zoom meeting with a small group of people, students, that is fine as well. And also having your office hours. Okay. So those are the type of things that you should have in the rest of your day. So giving you an example of what a schedule would look like. Right? So over here, K2, in fact, 3-8, you would be doing the same thing. You start off your day looking at checking your emails from the weekend, so therefore you can leave your weekend alone and you can actually enjoy your weekend and your family and your friends. So then Monday morning, you would come in and you could check your parent communication here. Then you could start with your live instruction. Then depending on when your PLC is, you would have your PLC, and then you can start inserting your other things. So lesson planning, live instruction, give yourself about a 30-minute lunch, collaborating, live instruction, individualized feedback. These are just examples. These are sample Monday schedules that you could just kind of look at to put wrap your whole head around of how do I make my schedule work. Okay, because you know what my next request or my next requirement will be is I'm going to need a schedule from you. Okay, so as you can see here, even with your 3 live instruction times, you still have a lot of time to do other things. PLCs will be a great time where we can kind of hash through some things. So this slide right here. So when you click on this Google Doc, it is going to take you to this spreadsheet. So I'm going to ask you that you provide for me your virtual Monday schedule. What is it going to look like? Now, will you change it after the first week? That's fine. As long as you keep in mind that you have to have the 30 to 40 minutes of instruction for all your different blocks and all your different subjects. And as long as you keep your PLC time K5, I'm okay if you need, you know what, this didn't really work for me. Let me go back and switch it. The reason I'm asking you to do this is so that we can publicize to the community to say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. If a parent wants to come back and complain and say, you know what, your teachers are they're never available when I am trying to get some help, and I thought these virtual learning Mondays were the time to get help. I can easily pull your schedule off. I don't even have to say anything to you. I can just pull your schedule off and say, hey, look, here's the schedule that the teachers have created for the next 8 or 9 Mondays. Here you go. So that is why I'm asking you to create these schedules. And then we can also publicize them and say, hey, you know, this is a time that your child can jump on live Zoom and get some support. The other thing here is that if you go ahead and start communicating that to families, they'll know it as well. So it's due this Friday, September 11th. As you notice here, it says it will be implemented September 21st. Because September the 14th, I've got to set PLCs up for you. I've got to give you our expectations and guidelines for PLCs. So this upcoming Monday, I'm going to do that for you. Okay, so there will be a PLC orientation on September the 14th in the cafeteria. So kindergarten through 4th grade will be at 9 o'clock. 5th through 8th grade will be at 10 o'clock. Starting on September 21st, normal PLCs will commence. Okay. K4 teachers, if you will just make note of this right here, the ICs will send out some more information about that later on. So let me backtrack and make sure that we're all on the same page here. So this upcoming Monday, you're not going to be implementing your personal schedule. That's because we're going to do these PLC orientations. I can set everything up, and then K4 will have something in the afternoon. So you're not going to be implementing your personal schedule. I do need to know your personal schedule, though, by September the 11th. So then September the 21st, you will implement those. Okay? So I went over a lot right then. What questions might you have? And if you would like to unmute, feel free to. All right, if you're typing or if not, I will say this, without a doubt, there is going to be some parent in this county that's going to complain. And they're going to call central office and say, hey, I thought these virtual Mondays were this, and my child's school is not doing this. First of all, I don't want ever that to be forever. I don't want that ever to be us. So that's why I am implementing all these things. I'm putting these things in place. I think by you having a personal schedule in place, you will be able to keep yourself on track. And then we can communicate to families to say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. So that if some parent does complain to central office, I can easily say, here's our spreadsheet. This is what we're doing. And there shouldn't be any concerns about that. So if you talk with your teaching friends around the county, they may not be required to do these same things. Just know that this is to protect you as a teacher and also to give our best foot forward when it comes to instruction for our virtual Mondays. Okay? What are your thoughts on, Ms. Driver said, what are your thoughts on Tech Monday and allowing parents to come in for troubleshooting with their technology? I think that's a great idea. That was one of the suggestions that was given at the board meeting that was discussed. I had, let's see. So this list right here is, there's other things that you can definitely come up with as well. So if you would like to say, hey, tech time in here, if you would like to insert in your calendar or your schedule, maybe 8 o'clock to 8:25 that you're helping out with tech issues and stuff like that, that's fine. If you want to incorporate that as well into your daily schedule. And also know this, each week, your family members, they may have had a tech problem. They may not have a tech problem this week, but they're going to have a tech problem next week, right? So instead of you being able to lesson plan right here, you may tell your parents, hey, can you come in at 12:30? Can you come in 12:30 and I help you with your tech issues? That's fine. We understand that things like that are going to come up. So yes, that, in fact, I would encourage that. Mr. Tripp says, do we have to have working Canvas on Mondays, or are they only getting instruction through live sessions? So that has not really been explicitly told to us. What I would do is because you're not going to be able to have all your kids on at the same time. So I would still have some review lessons up there on Monday as well. Yes, so that they can still be working on those things that you've done previously. And if they're not able to get on live instruction, they can still work through those. So yes, still have some review lessons up there for Monday for those family members that could not get on live. Great questions. Any other ones? All right, super random. The supplies, student materials on the gym stage, what are we doing with those? So those are actually the students. They have their names on them. If you would like to go looking, so Ms. Driver, so since you're 8th grade, if you would like to go look at the 7th grade students and see what they have and who is still coming to you face-to-face right now, you can give it to them then. I know it's strange to say, but we are still having family members come in and ask for those supplies right now. I know that's crazy when we took them back in March, but we just had a family member a couple of weeks ago come in here and get all hotty-toddy because we couldn't find a pencil box or something like that. So yes, those are still staying up there for the time being, but if you want to take a trip up there and see which of your students have materials up there, by all means, you can go and pull them and give it to them when they are here face-to-face. That would be, I'm sure Coach Cox and Coach Thomas would greatly appreciate that. All right. Any other questions before we move on? All right, so we're going to go ahead and start looking at some remote learning examples. So like I said, yesterday, I was able to take a good dive into your LMSs, and I was very impressed with what y'all have been able to come up with. So we started pulling some good examples. So this is kind of the start of our collaboration, not necessarily a PLC, but start of our collaboration. So we can start sharing some things with y'all. Now, keep in mind that the ICs, and I shared this already, but the ICs came up with these course requirements. And we recognize that when we gave this to y'all, y'all had a lot of things going on at the time. And we're also dealing with tech issues still and all that good stuff. But these requirements, if you would, go back and review these. Go back and look at these. So these are always linked in our, if you go to our school website, they are located in the start of school requirements. And then the K4 virtual expectations right here. It's K4, but there's also the middle school, as you can see here, 3-8 as well. It's also in the Canvas presentations as well. Okay, so we understand that when we gave this to you at the beginning of the year, your head was swimming with a lot of things, but this is just a reminder of what is required of a good online lesson. Okay, so the ICs have done a great job of breaking everything down for a K2 perspective and also when a 3-8 perspective here. Okay, so if you hadn't looked at these again, what I would do is I would definitely go back and look, because it kind of outlines everything for you. So what we want to do today is just kind of show you some good examples that come when it comes to our remote learning management systems. Okay. Before we do that, I want to just remind us of how our mindset has shifted from when we did spring remote learning versus now. So back in the spring, y'all remember the whirlwind of a few months that it was, but back in the spring, our mindset was, let's just review, mostly review with minimal live teaching, okay? We also did a lot of pre-packaging with our instruction. So we did the iReady, we did the YouTube videos, we did Khan Academy. We limited our teaching to mastery, that we didn't have any assessments. So it was really hard to determine if the students were understanding it or not, which we know for the most part they were not. There was also limited accountability and guidance too. It was really like, oh my gosh, we got to get this going, let's go. There was no attendance policy. Most of y'all were working from home. If not, at one point, everybody was working from home. So you had to utilize the resources that were in your kitchen, your living room, and all those things. And we also had very limited collaboration. So that was back in the spring. We understand that this model right here just was not working, as many parents told us. But let's shift our mindset to now, in the present. And this is how our mindset should be shifting, okay? So what we should be doing is creating lessons that are standards-based, along with spiraling previous standards as well. So we all know that everyone's curriculum, except for kindergarten, all of your curriculum has some type of, some standards that are have been interjected in there from previous years to help out with those gaps, okay? We're also now doing live and recorded instruction daily. We're also looking at this assessment piece here, where we're looking at CFAs. There will also be district assessments and state assessments. Whether we agree with them or not, sometimes there'll still be a requirement there. There's also been given some virtual expectations from here at Pactolus and the district. There's daily attendance requirements. We know that that's kind of iffy sometimes, but we're still rolling with that. Now you're able to be in the building. You can utilize the resources as something as simple as a whiteboard in your room, in your classroom, to your smart board, all those good things, to the district resources that have been created by the curriculum specialists as well. And this last piece is what we're getting started with on Monday, with ongoing consistent collaboration. Okay, so take a moment and shift your mindset from this is how we did it in the spring versus this is what we need to do now. Okay, like I said, y'all are doing great things, but I want us to really, everything that's on this list over here and some other things too, I want you to go ahead and cross it out of your mind and really start to shift to this mindset over here. Okay, so the first example I'm going to show you is a K2 example. And for my 3rd through 8th grade friends, y'all, even though this is a K2 example, y'all really need to listen to or see how Seesaw is working. So Seesaw is something that y'all don't have a lot of experience with, or limited experience. So what we have today is Miss Harris, this past Friday did a math lesson. And I've got linked here a video recording of that lesson. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Seesaw, it looks a little bit different. What you're about to see is not necessarily the same view as the student. The student has it on an iPad, so this is all they're going to see. There's only one way that they can scroll through, so don't get caught up in all that it's all confusing. What I want you to pay close attention to are the 3 parts of the lesson that we've asked everyone to have in all their lessons: the I do, we do, and you do. So Miss Harris's math lesson has all 3 of these components. Now, when I click on this, I'm going to fast forward a few parts through it. It's a 4-minute video, so I'm not going to go through the entire video with you, but I'm going to highlight what she's doing here, okay?
Click on me to watch video. Then click the green Add button. Represent the number 12 on the 10 frame. Then fill in the blanks in the sentence. After, click on the next slide to watch another video of me. Then click on this next slide and continue practicing. Click check when you're done.
All right, as you can see here, Miss Harris has her instructions not only written, but she's also recorded her instructions. For those that are not Seesaw savvy, all this stuff that you would see here, that you see right here, the students don't see all that. So you don't have to worry about that. They see the video and this piece right up here, okay?
All right, this week, guys, we've been learning how to represent numbers from 1 to 20. And yesterday, I introduced you guys to the 10 frame. This is the 10 frame, and we were in or on the side or on the bottom. So today I'm going to
all right, so as you can see, just clicking through here, this is the I do part of the lesson. This is Miss Harris showing her students how to use the 10 frame and those that left over.
Okay, so that says blank is blank on and blank off. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that number, 14, because that is the number that I'm representing, and I'm going to write it right here. So 14 is blank on. How many counters are on the 10 frame? If I look at it, I know that my 10 frame is full, so there must be 10. But I'm going to count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Okay, 10. So 1 and 4 off. Now 10, I'm out of space, so I got to come to the bottom. So that is 10 on, and I want you to put 12.
All right, so this is the piece right here where she's starting to get into the we do. So she did a couple examples for the students. Now she's going into the we do of her lesson.
To the 10 frame, and whatever doesn't fit, we're going to bring it around and put it underneath it. So all you have to do is something that looks very similar to it, and you're going to do it.
All right, so now you're going to see a response of what the students were doing. So this is what they're seeing. So Miss Harris was doing the 12. She gave them the example 12. On their Seesaw, now they have the 10s frame of 12, and now they have to record their information. So this is the we do part.
All right, I gave you the number 12.
So what does Miss Harris do after that? She walks them through the example.
Okay, your job was to represent it or show it in this 2, 3,
so as you can see
4,
here,
5.
Miss Harris is walking them through the example that they just had. Okay?
1, 2, off, 2 off. On the next 3 slides, represent each number using the pen.
So this last part here is the you do. So she did a couple examples with them. Now they're transitioning into doing these examples by themselves, okay? So with Seesaw, that's a great platform to do stuff like that, but that's what we want to see in all of our lessons going forward is the I do, we do, you do, okay? So that is a great example from Miss Harris of displaying these three pieces of your lesson here. Does anybody have a questions about the K2 example with Miss Harris and these three parts of your lesson? I'm gonna say it one more time, the I do, we do, you do. I know we all get nervous when we get behind a camera, but what the good instruction that you're doing in your classroom when you have normal, a normal situation, try to mimic that as much as possible when you have, when you're doing the virtual lessons too. All right, so thank you, Miss Harris, for letting me use you as an example. All right, so Miss Whitley. All right, so this is a 3-5 example. So this is also another math example. So I've got up here back to the basics. So this is a great example of Miss Whitley modeling a lesson. All right, now before I hit play, now Miss Whitley has done a great job with this, and notice that there's nothing fancy, and don't take offense to that, Miss Whitley, there's nothing fancy about this, but it is down to the basics. It is straight what the students need, okay? So I'm gonna
the camera around so that you can see. Okay. You should.
All right, what you see here is Miss Whitley has already, greeted her kids, this is a recording, but she's greeted her kids, all those good things. Now she's setting up her lesson. Now, as you notice here, this is a notebook sheet of paper. You can still see Miss Whitley over here. It's nothing fancy, just like standing in front of a whiteboard.
Should be able to see my paper now, and you should be able to still hear me. One of the things when you're talking about multiplicative comparison.
Good job pronouncing that correctly, Miss Whitley.
You need to find what is being compared.
All right, so I'm going to scoot along here, but what you'll notice is that Miss Whitley is taking these notes with the students. So instead of just giving them a PowerPoint with a bunch of stuff or a Google Doc with a bunch of notes on it, she's actually walking through her notes with them.
Paired.
I'm going to scoot along here.
You can use this reminder always going to be here at the end, okay? If you're trying to find a big number, you're going to be multiplying because your big number's here. That means your largest number you're going to have in your fact family is going to be over here. Now, to divide. Okay? So when I think about this, I always say, usually 3 different types of problems. The first type of problem is you do not know the big number.
All right, so as you can see here, this is a great example, and it's very simple. It's nothing elaborate. It is going through just the instruction with the students. Now, as she goes along, she's going to go through some examples with them and great examples with the students. But as you notice here, Miss Whitley's not sending them to iReady and sending them just expecting them to get their instruction from iReady. She's not sending them to STEM scopes and expecting them to do STEM scopes lessons and getting their instruction from that. She's actually teaching the students when it comes to this math lesson here. So great example of something very simple that you could use, that everybody could use, document camera, and just recordings, okay? All right. So does anybody have any questions as far as Miss Whitley's is concerned? All right, and then our 6-8 example is Miss Driver. So what I want to show you with Miss Drivers is the structure of her canvas. And I'm also going to show you some follow-up videos that I'll explain a little bit more that helps out with explanation. Okay, let's see if I have to log into Canvas here. Oh, no. All right, so keep in mind that this is 8th grade. So 8th graders, they're a little bit older and they can probably do a little bit more in some circumstances than some of our lower grade levels. But when you're looking at Miss Driver's canvas right here, so this was from 9-2, so last week. What I love is the very beginning up here, she's got her objective. And for most part, we're forgetting that, but that's okay. I'm not, blaming anybody. Y'all have got lots of things that y'all are dealing with right now, but it's great to see this objective up here. She's got her essential question already stated right here up at the front too, and then her student's wheel. Okay. So what you see from Miss Driver next is a link to a video, and she's got it linked right here. And this is kind of like a bell ringer, I'm thinking.
Vocabulary connections on Wednesday, or feel free to kind of pay attention and then you kind of answer them in.
So I'm going to fast forward in a minute, but it's true and false questions. But watch what she does when she goes through these questions with the students.
And then you can write in maybe a different color just to kind of show that this is what I'm adding. So possibly something in green if you wanted to highlight it. Parasitism only affects, and you can say animals here and plants.
All right. So with these true false questions, did she just tell them later on, hey, it's false, this one's false? No. She told them it's false, but she also gave them an explanation of why this is false.
So we can take out animals, or we can strike out only as well. Because number by population size and area must have to be considered habitable. Which means you, in this case, is saying like, oh, you only need this many here in order for it to be like an ecosystem and be habitable. Okay. If you said false, you would be correct.
All right. So when she goes
that
to
is
this,
like a healthy, habitable area.
She's marked out minimum, changed it with maximum, and some other things as well. Okay. So that's the start of her lesson. As you can see here, she's got her instructions on what to do. She has her task 2 highlighted. If you notice right here, a video will be linked on Thursday with the answers. So she gives them their CFA. Thursday, she actually shows a video of those explanation of those answers as well. She's got her handouts here. It's all on one page that all of the students can see exactly what they need for 9-2. As we all know with Canvas, it can kind of get cumbersome to hit next and previous and click this link and all this stuff. So it's really nice to see it all on one page when you're talking about the instruction piece there. And if you click next, she's got her daily check-in for the next day. And then she's got her instructions with a video explaining her instructions, trying to show you the video of the explanations. So, yep, answer key, CFA questions and answers. So you can see here, she's gone through the CFA that they took the day before, and she's got a video up here explaining it. That's big. You know, my thoughts are when, we all learn from the things we do, we definitely learn from the things that we do wrong the most. So if you can give them that explanation, that would be helpful as well. Okay. So those are just some examples that we have that I just want you to be able to take one thing, whether it be that I do, we do, you do, whether it be something as simple as modeling, teacher modeling, If you go back and look at this video, there's Miss Whitley is modeling the questions for the students as well. She's got some multiple choice questions that she's going back with those as well. Or looking at your Canvas structure and having some follow-up videos, making it as simple as possible for the kids as well. Okay. All right, so that brings us to the end here. So what we want to do in our PLCs is really start helping y'all fine tune this virtual learning. Y'all have done a fantastic job, but with everything, there's always room for growth, right? So these PLCs are going to be very, very important going forward so that we can kind of help you as a grade level, you as an individual, really fine tune this virtual learning piece, okay? All right, so like I said, this brings us to the end of our staff meeting. Does anybody have any questions? I've gone over a lot. All right, well, if nobody has any other questions, keep in mind these couple of things, okay? Just to recap, make sure that you understand these guidelines and expectations. If you need childcare, please email me ASAP for these virtual learning Mondays. No new content. Go back and review your slide with your instructional requirements. Make sure you have a good understanding of that. Know when your PLC times are. And then you're going to create a schedule and you're going to submit it into this spreadsheet right here. Okay. This first Monday, though, we're going to have a PLC orientation in the cafeteria at these times. Okay. All right. Well, if nobody has a question, then you are good to go. And I appreciate you all and all that you are doing. And look forward to seeing you all tomorrow morning. Thank y'all.